Welcome back, everybody. Episode 79 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And this is going to be a really cool conversation. So we get into some controversial topics, dynamics of the spiritual world. We're talking a lot about angels, the angel realm, how they serve us as humans. And Caylen and I kind of dive into the space of she's an angel therapist, like uses angel therapy to help people shift and become aware. We talk about intuition inside of this landscape, and something she had said triggered me a little bit at the beginning. And then I remembered my truth. So you're going to watch this unfold as we move through this experience together. And for some of you guys that know me well and been on the pod, you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you're like, I totally get her. I want you to just kind of pinpoint in your mind as you listen to this, what she could have triggered me on. And then you'll hear me later on in the podcast, bring it back around, which is going to be fun. But we literally dive into angels. We dive into our intuition. We dive into like soul's experience and what this means to step in with the angels. And she does an activation at the end for you to connect in with your angels deeper. And I just think it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. So I am grateful to be able to diversify the guests coming on and for us to have expanded conversations in a lot of the woo-woo aspect of my life and my world. And this was one of them. So just so grateful for this experience, and I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. So here we go. Episode 79, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back. I am super excited to talk today about angels and about connections and about, I don't even know what's about to drop into this field. And that excites me always to not know what's about to happen, because I have a leading energy in adventuring and adventurism. And when we lead with our intuition and just flow in life, it's like an adventure, I feel, at least. How about you, Caylen? Do you feel the same thing? Adventure?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
adventure is part of who I am for sure. I love adventure. I love being spontaneous. I love taking the kids out on various adventures. And with that comes experience, right? Adventure and experience go
Yeah.
together so well, and it expands us, it grows us, it takes us to places that we might not even consciously know that we're going to, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a
Yeah.
powerful place to be, a powerful place to be. And I want to make sure, because I didn't ask you before we hit record, is it Caylen? Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good. Whew. I'm like, sometimes when names are
All
spelled
right.
creatively, I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot to ask if this was how I spell your name or say your name. Oh my God.
No,
So
it's all
I'm,
good.
like I said to you before, super transparent. This whole entire podcast is me being real and raw and just being here with you. And I want to jump into the intuition first, I think, because I think when we kind of dissect that a little bit, and then you can bring in the knowledge of the angelic realm and how you work with angels and how we all technically work with angels without knowing that we're working with angels.
Right.
And love to just kind of move into that. But let's talk about intuition and your pathway, because maybe you've been awake your whole life and working with angels and following your intuition since you were born. But I'm going to make up that maybe there's been some situations that happened that accelerated that through, and that you, what we call awakened, like all of us did somewhere along the way. So I'd love to just hear what your journey was like through this flow within yourself.
Yeah. Basically the catalyst, I would say, for me kind of stepping into where I am now and moving to this space was definitely my mother. My mother
Mm.
was exploring in her later years, probably around 40 or so. She started exploring her own spirituality and intuition and that kind of thing. And so she tapped into, if people are familiar with Hay House and the different
Mm-hmm.
Hay House authors. And so the first person she connected with was Sonia Choquette. And so she talks a lot about
Yeah.
intuition and your psychic pathway.
Yeah.
But anyways, as she was exploring all these different authors within Hay House and what they offered, she kind of brought us girls along, because I have two other sisters, and she
Mm.
introduced it to us. And so she started inviting us or taking us to some of the workshops she was doing, or she would invite us to read the book that she had, that kind of thing. And so we started kind of moving through that
Mm.
development, that pathway, through my mother. Sorry.
Yeah.
And my mother herself was a very spiritually gifted woman,
Mm.
but she like started on her journey in this life
Yeah.
developing that like much later. And so I've always felt that she never really got to the space and place of the potential to share her gifts and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm emotional because she passed away this year or last year.
Yeah.
So
I could feel
new.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyways, my point is that she was like always very supportive of what I did, and she was always showing up at all my things. And even though she had her own path, like she was very much kind of like a cornerstone for
Of
moving me
course.
through.
Yeah.
Um, and the interesting thing is when she passed, um, like I talk to her all the time.
I was just going to ask you, have you actually had a reading done, like from a medium from her?
I haven't had someone do it for me, no.
Yeah,
But I've
you obviously
definitely,
tapped in.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've definitely have signs and have noticed things and different aspects of my mother coming through in various ways. She comes to me in dreams. Sometimes it's just pop in and it's this random conversation out of the blue, but it's not stuff that I could make up per se.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I've had a couple other people in my space who I'm connected with who have picked up on things from mom and then shared them with me. But when she passed, um, one of the questions I kind of put out there was like, you know, a lot of times we ask why, like, why did you go now? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because her health wasn't good, and you could see the deterioration in her physical body.
Mm.
Um, and that's a whole side tangent. But that being said, I asked kind of, why, or why did you go now, kind of thing. And, I thought you were helping me, kind of thing. And she said to me, or the response was, or the message that came through is that I can help you more now from this side than I ever
Mm.
could when I was
I was
physically
in
there,
human.
because I now
Yeah.
have access to all these things, all this knowledge and that kind of thing. And so I feel and know that there will be some things that are going to come through as I continue forward, but it's going to be in conjunction
Yeah.
from mom, who's able to
Yeah.
help forward for me, right? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and it's
Yeah.
are you open? Like I got a ping for you. Are you open for me to tell you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so she fulfilled her purpose on this earth experience in this life, even though like part of you was like she had all these gifts that you didn't get to see her really step into and bloom. Her job was to activate you. So that was her
Oh,
mission
yeah.
on earth, was in activating you. So she's aligned. My whole body's in goosebumps now, and I'm like, okay, I'll make sure I tell her. Like such a beautiful thing. Remember, I said to you, I was like, is there anything off limits? Like we never know where
That's
we're going to
right.
lead into
Yeah.
this space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like her, and sometimes we see this, and this is like really cool moment that we think like a human life, we see this beautifulness and this energy and all the things and the gifts, and we're like, they're not hitting their potential, or they didn't step into that space where this life, she was meant to help you step into that space in activating. And now as a spirit, like she said to
Right.
you, now
Yeah.
she's like, okay, we're activated, we got the tools over here, let's go
Yeah.
make the
Yeah.
impact in the world. And
Yeah.
I know the video looks like it's really scrambled, but it actually works. So don't even worry about that. Just keep
No,
talking.
no, it's okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so how does that land in your field when I say that to you?
Oh, absolutely. Makes complete sense. I've had signs and messages come through before that, definitely
Yeah.
affirm that. And it's nice to hear, because part of me was sad, not just because she passed, but I felt like she had all these things to share that she didn't get to share. But with
Yeah.
knowing this piece, which I had, heard a little bit prior, um, that kind of makes it a little bit more comforting for
Yeah.
my human
Yeah, you're
brain, right?
human, right? I know, because
Yeah,
we do have both, right? And we're obviously going to be talking about some more spiritually connected stuff today, like in
yeah,
out there concepts that are not actually out there, they're actually in here. But like we're going to talk
right.
about that too. But
Yes.
yeah, the human side of us is still a thing, like we're still
Oh,
incarnated in a
absolutely.
body, right? So I love that you brought that forward in that space of so cool. So your mom's been a beautiful, like obviously gift in your world of helping you kind of really accelerate this and step into it. Was there ever a moment where you like made a decision to really do this where you were like, let's try it, let's go all in? Like, did you battle this at any point in time? And then some of the mediums I've worked with in the past are like, I shelved it for 10 years and then I came back into the space to be able to hold it. Like, how did that play out in your world for you?
Yeah, I had a similar experience. Like I went and did my Angel Therapy Practitioner certification back in
Mm-hmm.
2011. I came back. I had
Mm,
this beautiful experience and connection with all these people. And uh, in order to complete our certification, we had to do an X
just
number of
study.
readings and that. And so I
Yeah.
did that. And then, but I didn't really go full in at that point.
Yep. Yep.
And I still dabbled and explored some other things and took some other courses
Yep.
and those kinds of things. But probably like many people who've experienced recently, when COVID hit,
Hmm.
that's when I went all in.
Yeah, of course.
Um, yeah. Uh,
We
Part
had
of it
time to
was
actually
because,
reconnect. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
well, yes, that too. But part of it was because of the big shift to moving online, and I had noticed that I was
Mm.
doing very well online. I was able to reach people. I was getting more response from people
Yeah.
that were outside of where I physically lived, and then I had some other people in my world that I was watching kind of make the same pivots, and so I
Mm.
thought, well, if she can do that, I could do that.
I can, yeah.
So I stepped into that. Plus, I also, the message around, and I know this is very controversial for
No,
for
go for it.
people,
Let's
right? Like
roll.
both sides.
Yeah.
But the when that all played out, I was very interested and very focused on the spiritual and the energetic meaning behind what was happening,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
what the purpose of that was. As
Hmm.
not that the physical aspects weren't occurring and didn't have merit, and there were things that we needed to deal with, etc. But um, diving into and exploring and understanding the spiritual piece of it was
Hmm.
very comforting,
Right.
right? And it was
Yeah.
also very comforting when I shared that with other people. Like they really appreciated that. And it brought in a different perspective that was helpful to many.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went a full in. Um,
All in. Yeah.
yeah, and especially because we were so isolated in different ways. I always say to people that the angels are like the crew in your back pocket, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to physically go and see them. You don't have to physically call them on the phone. Like you literally just call them in and connect with them. And it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, what space you're in, or anything
Yep.
like that. And you don't need extra tools. You don't need technology. Like you don't need anything except you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was also a gift to be able to share with people, as well as that even though you are kind of like physically in your little pod,
Yeah.
um, you can connect outside and get some comfort and support, even, right? Because that's the other element that the angels bring in. And so that you really are never alone.
Right. Yeah. And I've known this consciously for a long, long time. When I started doing like really leaning into having a spiritual mentor and doing the work, like it's almost 15 years already, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy to even like think about it that way. Um, Consciously, I always knew this. but our
Yeah,
human sometimes feels alone. And the whole mechanism
exactly.
behind one of the pieces behind this whole entire thing that happened for us was, if we can segregate the population, then they will submit to us because they will feel alone and they'll
Exactly.
want to be a part of humanity again. And we'll
Right.
hold the carrot for them to get out of their houses.
That's right.
Whereas the amplification for you came through to be like, let's also, like, out of all the other things, right? Let's also teach people that they're never alone, that their angels are always with them, and their guides and, you know, their teams or whomever it is that you
Absolutely.
believe is with you. Yeah. It's a
That's right.
powerful place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's very
Hmm.
empowering. And
Yeah.
during that time, so many people felt disempowered,
Of course they did.
right? So to be able to bring that in and say, wait a minute, you have this. You have access to it if you
Yeah.
want it, right? Because it's always a choice.
Of course.
But to just kind of bring that to people's attention and allow them the opportunity to explore it uh, can be very powerful.
Yes. Totally powerful. So, you grew up very much linked into Hay House's information and the authors there because of your mother, right? So she kept passing you that. I can't remember who does the angel training that you took.
Well, it was originally, the angel training that I took was Doreen Virtue. At the
That's
time,
what I thought.
she
Okay.
was the
Sorry.
angel lady. But
Yeah.
as people may or may not know, she has
She's,
since switched gears. So
yes.
she doesn't offer that pathway anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and I did know that because I used to watch her like weekly card pulls, and I
Hmm.
used to have, until I moved to Costa Rica and I kind of purged a lot of my life. I used to have a
Right.
couple of her decks, her card decks, and I like her. My
Hmm.
first ever card deck was her angel card deck. So
Right. Yeah.
that's amazing. That's awesome. So you got trained in 2011. What brought
Hmm.
you to the space of the angelic realm and like Doreen Virtue's work? Like, I know it was a calling, but I'm sure there's something else. Like, how did it land for you?
Um, Honestly, and I've been asked this many times, like, what was the significant event or the catalyst? And it was kind of it literally was a natural progression.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I started with my mom exploring people like Sonia Choquette and Wayne Dyer. But like I said, at the time, Doreen was the angel lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was exploring a little bit of her stuff, but it was never a huge pull, or it didn't feel like it was,
Yeah.
until all of a sudden one day I get an email, because I ended up on her email
List.
list, right? That she's
Yeah. Yeah.
doing her certification course. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And
Hmm.
so I was going to go do it, but for whatever reason, that particular timing didn't work out. And so I didn't worry
Yeah.
about it. And then maybe probably, I don't know, it might have been a year and a half later, get another email. She's
Mm-hmm.
doing her angel certificate or angel therapy practitioner certification training. And it's her last one that is live and in person. And I
Mm.
went, that's the one I'm going to. And
Yeah.
so I literally went to my husband at the time and I said, I need to do this. I have to go, et cetera, et cetera. My twins were just over a year old. I was still nursing.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
had to pump the milk, and my mother could come. But I just watched as everything fell into place. Like, the flight to go to Hawaii was like really
Yeah.
not that expensive. It was perfectly aligned. And like I said, my mom was available, and like all these things just automatically fell into place with ease. And so
Yes.
I'm like, wow,
With
this is it.
ease. Let's say that again.
With ease. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There was no struggle. There was no, oh my gosh, there's this problem. It just literally went boom, 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 boom. And
Yes.
then
Love
when
it.
I got there and walked into the room, right, of
Yeah.
this group of about 200 people, I literally felt like I knew them all already. Like I
Yeah.
really walked
So fun.
into my soul family.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Um,
so cool.
and that was very affirming as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I connect a lot in with the 8 earth angels that are connected more to the earth experience,
Hmm.
which a lot of people know of who they are, like Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, you know, Ariel, some of them might know.
Hmm.
But the work you do is vast compared to that connection alone. So I'd love to just find out, like, what does an angel therapist do? And like, what does this mean for people to understand? I have a conscious awareness of it, and I can grasp that, but I want to know, like, formally what you have to say about it, because I'm like, I could pick it up energetically, but I'm just curious, right? Like, what is this? Because I definitely want to dive into our connection to the angelic realm and to the realms and deities that serve us as humans. But this experience that you went to Hawaii for, I was going to ask you if you got to go to Hawaii, because I wasn't sure if you did them
I
anywhere else.
did.
This
Yeah.
was amazing. Yeah, what does this mean? Like, tell me about what this is. Like, what does an angel therapist do?
Do.
Do, are,
Um,
be?
who are we? Well, that's an excellent question. We're more than just coming to us for an angel reading,
Mhm.
right? A lot of people, well, there's two things. One is when I speak with people and tell them what I do, they, um, they're they're not sure like what an angel reading is, right? Or if they've never had an
Mhm.
angel reading
Yeah.
before. And so an angel reading differs from like a psychic or intuitive reading simply
Yeah.
because we tap into the angelic realm and the angels, right? Which is at a
Mhm.
higher vibrational frequency than what we're experiencing on Earth.
Right.
And so a psychic or intuitive reading still has validity, but it is vibrating. You tap into a different frequency than when you tap into the angelic realm. And the angelic realm just vibrates at a higher vibrational frequency, which enables you, excuse me, well, there goes my voice,
Yeah. Yeah.
which enables you to access a higher level, maybe not a higher level per se, but like a different level of information,
Right.
and messages that you wouldn't necessarily be able to tap into with an intuitive reading, for instance.
Mhm. Yeah.
The other difference is the angels, their purpose, their sole purpose is to help us.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking about having, this crew of helpers in our pocket and we're never alone, like that's what they're here for. And
Right.
they get really excited when we step in and we ask, and we're like, angels, can you help me with XYZ? Because of free will, in our human experience, the angels can't help us unless we
Until we ask.
ask,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And there's a couple of caveats to that. Like if you're in mortal danger and it's not your time to go, they will step in, for
Yeah.
example, right? So when someone starts their journey into the angelic realm and connecting with their guardian angel and their angelic team and the archangels, they get really excited. And I often describe it as sometimes they're going, "Oh, thank God, Mary is asking us finally for
Yeah.
XYZ,"
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right? Because they're there all the it's like the person behind the curtain who like on the game show who has the answer but they
Yeah.
just won't pick their hand, kind of
Yes.
thing. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what that's like. So when you come to see me as an angel therapy practitioner, it's more than like I definitely offer the readings and the one-on-one
Yeah.
sessions, but there's healing within the session, right? So if
Mhm.
things come up, blocks or challenges or whatever that we notice right away in the session through the reading, we will do or initiate the healing aspect with your angelic team like right on the spot. So it's not
Yeah. I
like
love it.
yes, you might have a little bit of homework to continue your work after you
Of
leave, but
course.
I don't go, okay, you have this block, go figure out how to address it. Like we channel the energy, we move things through like right there in the moment.
Mm.
The other thing that I do that is really important to me is I want to take you beyond just coming to me for a reading. I want to empower you to be able to
Yeah.
connect into your angelic team every day, to access your messages, to receive the guidance, to navigate your life, to make your decisions, to uh, get that support, to work with your healing. Not to be said that there's not times where you don't come back and um, check in, or right, because we all go off tangent or
Of
whatever, so we go
course.
back to our coach and help us
Yeah.
align again. But it's really important for me to give people the skills, the power, the tools that when you walk away from a session, you can continue to do those things in your daily life, and expand upon them. So I offer more than just, your one off angel reading. I have programs and courses, and opportunities to help you create that solid foundation so that
Hmm.
you can take yourself to that space where tapping into the angelic realm just becomes your daily practice.
Yeah. No, question I have for you that I'm sure other people are going to want, like, desire answers to is spirit guides and
Hmm.
angels.
Hmm.
So, in your world, is there a difference?
Yes, there is.
Okay. So, yeah. So, explain it.
Yes. So angels are divine beings of light.
Hmm.
They have the biggest difference between angels and spirit guides is that angels have never had a human experience. So they've never
Mm.
walked the earth. There's two exceptions,
Yeah.
which is there's two archangels, Metatron and Sandalphon. They have
Mhm.
had human experiences and then were elevated to archangel status. But
Okay.
other than that, angels have not had a human experience. And I know often people talk about, their mother has passed or their grandmother has passed, and there's another angel in heaven. Um,
Yeah.
it is they would actually be determined or classified if they came back to support you as spirit guides,
Right. Right.
because
Cool.
they've had a human experience. And there's advantages to having spirit guides who've had a human experience because in certain situations they can relate differently. Um,
Right.
but there's downsides to sometimes having your spirit guide or your grandma come in because
Yeah.
they're still very much a part of their human experience is still with them. And
Yeah.
so sometimes their support or guidance is skewed.
Hmm.
They think they're offering the best solution for you,
Yeah.
but it actually may not be. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong or that you shouldn't be talking to them.
Yeah.
It's just something to be aware of, right? Because we
Yeah.
know as humans, our egos can get in the way, and so sometimes um, a guidance from your spirit guide or grandma
Yeah.
might not be the best thing. So the angels, they don't have egos. Their messages and guidance and support are always coming from a space of pure love and divine.
Yeah.
And again, like talked about earlier, is they're at a different vibrational frequency, which enables them to just tap into those higher vibrations and that different level of access and guidance and support that your spirit guides might not have access to.
Right. So let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
Our higher self guidance. So what's the difference between that energy and the angel realm?
I like to describe our higher self as our more of our our soul connection.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
our energetic essence,
Yeah.
and then the angels are different. So and I also connect higher self with intuition.
Yeah. So why I bring that up is just the question of if we really tap into ourselves and like really lead with our own light and work with our higher self, I know the angels are always there in support, but would somebody like, I'll use the word need just because I don't really have another word to put it. Would somebody need to be working with all of the things, or would it be enough for them to really, I don't know, just in your opinion? And obviously we know
Yeah.
just by the work we do, like we're tapped in consistently into all different ways. Like I work a lot with the ascended master energies and different
Hmm.
types of deity systems that come through and channeling different aspects of different work that I'm moving through and maneuvering in, or different activations that I'm transmitting into the world. And I speak light language and I do a lot of like cool work that way from the dimensional perspective. But
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just curious because in my mind I'm thinking about what would someone listening to this be thinking about too in connection with this, when this spiritual community is teaching us to connect into our higher self and really align in our intuition and trust in that flow. How does it play out? I just love to know, like in your in how we would explain this to someone.
So if you were 100%
Yeah,
tapped into your higher self and all the information that was available to you from all your lifetimes and your DNA and like all, if you had it perfect,
yeah, tight.
then no, you wouldn't,
Yeah, yeah, okay,
because
cool.
you'd have access to all the information and or know how to
Right,
access that information.
right.
The trick is we don't.
Yeah, we're humans
Right, and
still.
we're on this continual journey to get to that space and place, but who knows how long it would take us to get there. So but if you were truly 100% in your higher self all the time, then no, I
Yeah,
don't think that you would need those
yeah.
other
No,
pieces.
what about the Akashic records? How does that play out into the field of this? Just curious to your insights on that.
Yeah, so the Akashic records are your soul records,
Hmm.
which encompass all of your lifetimes, past, present, and even future. And
Yep.
so it's like going to the library of your soul. So when you
Yeah.
open up and go explore in your Akashic
Yeah.
records, you can access any of that information um,
Yeah.
at all. So, and it also vibrates at a higher vibrational frequency, in my opinion, even higher than the angelic realm.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so you would utilize them differently. There's times where working with the or tapping into the angelic realm is beneficial, and there's times when going into your Akashic records and exploring and expanding that way um, just gives you access to things that you might not be able to access with the angels, for example.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that we're talking about this because I think it's important that there's these tools that we all have access to and support that we all have access to. And some people may be like, well, when do I use what? And inside of the space of
Exactly.
that, because like I'm a psychic medium as well as an intuitive, but I use the Akashic records to do readings. So that's
Yes.
my MO and modality. Like I'm not just tapped in like maybe some of different soul psychics do. Where you said at the beginning about the angelics, being at a higher vibrational frequency than the earth psychic experience, which is
Yeah.
true.
Yes.
Where I use the records. I also train in the records. I certify in the records, and I work along the keepers of the records, which are like a really
Mm-hmm.
cool relationship to have
Yes.
because they don't like me calling them this, but I see them like little elves, and they're like, "We're not elves,"
Oh.
and I'm like, "I know, but you look like elves." And every time I see you in my mind, like you're walking with like these little sticks and stuff and things like that. So it's just what a beautiful human experience we have to know that there's all this support that most of our conscious minds can't even fathom, right? We can't
Oh,
even fathom
exactly.
that
Yeah.
this is a thing, that we can do this, that we can tap into that we can tap into this, and in all of this space of awareness. So that's why I was like, I just felt it was important for us to kind of outline a little bit of that because I have an opinion and I know what my opinion was, but I wanted to find out where this floats for you, because you utilize the angelic realm as one of the main probably tool sets or access points for some of the work you do. And plus you have your own gifts that you bring in and you weave in, and I'm sure you've morphed a lot of your work to fit the vibrational frequency that you're meant to serve the world in, right? And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of important for us to mention that space of
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
And we talked before we hit record about what's happening in the world right now, and about how a lot of people are thinking that this is an optional work, and it is,
Right.
sure, because you have free will, you can choose whatever you want to choose. But for those of us really being called into our spiritual path, and it doesn't mean it's the same as mine, your path can be totally different than mine, like we all have our own piece to the puzzle. But we were chatting before about what you've been seeing in the world, and I'd love to just hand you the baton back to kind of bring that forth, because I think it's an important conversation that we have in connection with our ascension energy and our spiritual inwardness, and our connection to the deities we work with, and yeah, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, when we were chatting earlier before, what I was sharing is that I've noticed a lot lately
Mm-hmm.
that people in general, and I just say generally, and it's not specific to any one person or group per se, but I've noticed that, as you know, and so many challenges have come up for people in the last year with finances, or having to switch gears, or
Mm-hmm.
we're moving more into survival mode for many of us,
Yes.
unfortunately. That what is happening is people see their spiritual expansion or their connection to the angels um, as extra, as
Mm-hmm.
an add-on, as a, well, it would be nice to have if I could connect with the angels on a regular basis. And so they're making specifically financial decisions to not go, that maybe they used to do regular sessions,
Right.
akashic records or angel readings or whatever, but now they've pulled back on that, for example.
Right.
Or they'd really like to train to empower themselves to connect more in the angelic realm. And yes, I want to dive into your one-on-one coaching program, but no, I don't have the X amount of dollars to do that. And
Mhm.
I definitely understand the dynamics of finances
Oh, of
for
course. Yeah, no,
sure.
speak it like it's coming through, girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's. I mean, I have my own. Like, I'll be completely
Oh, for sure.
transparent. Like, it's
Yeah.
2023 sucked.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
And
Totally get
so
it.
yeah, and so, but what the disconnect is these tools, this spiritual expansion, this connection, and depending on however you decide you're navigating it, whether it be with the angels or through the Akashic records, or whether you do it through breath
Your own
work,
spiritual
meditation, whatever, it
connection.
doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
whatever. Cool. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is the first thing to go for many of
Right.
us when we are stressed or needing to pull back on money, or we're running out of time, or like all those things, right? It's not just financially related, even though for a
Yeah.
lot of people that's where it starts.
Yeah.
um and in fact, we should be doing the opposite.
Yeah.
We should be
Yeah.
diving into our spirituality and expanding it, and finding ways to connect in more,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what moves the needle. That is what
Yeah.
shifts us. And depending on, where the space we're coming from, we might need to move the needle a lot, or we might need to move the needle a little bit. But when we bring in those consistent daily connections, practices, in our
Mm-hmm.
spiritual expansion, in our spiritual journey, that is what makes the difference in your daily life. And you might see it right away, or it might take a little bit longer. But the thing is that should not be the thing that we check out.
Yeah.
Like, it's really important. And I even have to remind myself sometimes, because some of my own practices, I'm like, oh, I'm too tired, or oh, but there are certain things where I am absolute, like, no, this happens before I do XYZ.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't happen, I notice. So I just really
Hmm.
want to encourage people to, and I'm not by any means suggesting people run out and spend thousands of dollars that they don't have.
Yeah. Ah, disclaimer.
But yeah. Um, that being said, well, there's two things. Sometimes that leap is what makes the difference.
Is exactly what we need. Yep.
Is exactly
Yep.
what we need, and or that kick in the butt, if you want to frame it
Yeah.
that way, right? Um, but the other thing is you just find that one thing that you can bring in to your spiritual practice, whether it be connecting with the angels or your daily meditation or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and just bring one thing in at a time, and just start, just so that you have a consistent
Hmm.
foundation. And then as things shift and your needle moves, and then you can, add in more, right? Because I remember my mother saying to me at one point, she's
Yeah.
like, Caylen, with all this list of things that I need to do, meditation and go for a walk and eat right and blah 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 and all these things, she goes, it's noon and I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
Which I laugh because, yes, I understand that, but I also,
Hmm.
from my experience, have noticed that isn't that what we'd rather be doing anyway? You know,
Yes.
living this
Yes.
lovely flowed life until noon and not have to
Yes.
worry about XYZ. So, like,
Yes.
our goal is to get there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so the trick is to bring those spiritual pieces in a little bit at a time and build them so that it just becomes part of your daily natural flow, and then it doesn't feel like you just spent all that time wasted, right? Because that's
Right.
where the space
Yeah.
my mother was coming from,
Right.
in meditation, for example. um,
Right.
and so yeah.
It's so fun. So I feel and that this is a big year for me, 2024. Like I've been doing a lot of work in the space of a lot of things, and like I'm ready to hold it and really
Hmm.
be with this flow, because I live in the philosophy, if it's in us, it's for us, right? So
Yes.
if I can see it, it's mine already. It's already in the ethers. I don't have to make it up. I don't have to pretend like I can dream it. It's already
Hmm.
here, right? And so I was asking, this was literally happened yesterday morning. And I'm like, why did these puppies? So I have 8-week-old puppies today. I got them at
Hmm.
6.5 weeks old. And I'm like, why? I have two. Why did they drop in then? Because in my mind's eye, I was like, I'll get my place and I'll have this, beautiful thing. And then I'll get animals and I'll just maneuver through, because my heart was calling for animals. And so yesterday, when I'm contemplating these questions and asking these questions out into the ethers, the answer came back was, well, we need you in your expansion practices. And when the puppies wake you up at 5 a.m., then you have the opportunity to now actually use it for your expansion time, because they're not going to go to bed. They're going to be running around chasing each other, doing their things, but you can still drop into your meditation, put my noise canceling earphones on while they're wrestling in the living room. You can still do this stuff. And we need you. There's no need, but this is what I'm saying for
Yes.
this example. We need
Right.
you to be in those practices if you really desire to align in this life that you've been calling in, that is available for you this year, if you get your shit together, and
Right.
I was like, okay, noted. So I needed puppies to come into my life for me to make a commitment to
Yeah.
actually doing the practices necessary that I know this. Like I know logically, I know. But just like like you mentioned, some days I want to just have a nap. And other days
Hmm.
I don't want to actually visualize things. And powerful, thank you. I yawn when I'm getting confirmations, and I also yawn when I'm moving energy through. So I'm like, I got it. So I was literally dissecting this in real time on a summit interview yesterday. And I went, oh my God, And I'm like, apparently I always love the dynamic decisions in my life that come through that, create some dynamic energy. Now I have two responsibilities. So I'm not in as much flow and ease as I've been, where I'm like, yeah, you want to go to Guatemala for the weekend? Let's go. Now I'm like, I need a puppy sitter, or can the puppies come? And I'm just
Right.
like,
Yes.
so it's
Yes.
it's interesting, how I choose to live this life of like these dynamics and how it's moving through. But this is where the work is. Like we said that at the beginning, like we think the work is like how we make income, but it's actually not. The work is the spiritual work that then opens us up to all these possibilities where we may not even have to work for the money. The money comes to us in different ways of our evolution, right? And it's cool to see it all.
Exactly.
So I go on a tangent there, but I just wanted to kind of emphasize that
Yeah.
point. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's so fun. Yeah.
Yes. Well, absolutely. And we're in a time and space where it is crucial, like not just
Hmm.
needed, but crucial for us who are on this path to step in, not only step in, but go big.
Yes.
And
Yep.
some people, when they hear go big, they're like, oh, and go big doesn't necessarily mean you're speaking to the masses.
Yeah.
Go big just might mean that you're helping three neighbors on your street,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
Because as
Yeah.
humans, we're the ones who put sizes on things.
Of
There is
course.
no size in the
Yeah.
universe. It's
Yeah.
all the same, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to stop being afraid to show
Yeah.
up and
Yeah.
say what we need to say, share what we need to share, do what we need to do. Um, and it's tricky, especially because people have become so gun shy. Um,
Hmm.
with our recent experiences over the past few years, right? Because there
Right.
was so much discord happening.
Hmm.
But that being said, it's time to, and I don't like say, play bigger, play small, because I don't like the correlation or the
Yeah.
analogy that comes with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just time to show up
Yeah. In all
in
the
whatever.
ways, yeah, like in our full embodied light, really is what
Yeah,
it is. And
yeah,
for
yeah,
some of us, that means massive impact with thousands and thousands of people. For
yep.
others, it means like you go to the grocery store embodied and spread your light everywhere you go. And
That's right.
both are necessary. Both
That's
are
right.
necessary. We need
Both are
all of this,
necessary and needed.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
everything.
Yeah.
Um, so someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, so I get the difference. I get and understand that I've got my guides and they're here over here, but it would really be beneficial for me to really start to work with the angel realm. Now,
Mm-hmm.
do people have, and I heard you mention this already, but I think it's kind of warranted for us to communicate this way. You said guardian angel, and then we have angel teams, and then we have the archangels. I work a lot, and especially working obviously in the Akashic, I work a lot with Metatron in that
Yep.
energetic field, and the keepers of the records. Obviously, those two platforms are amazing for me. But like, what does
Mm-hmm.
this look like for like someone that doesn't do the work I do, but does other work? Like, how does this look? Everyone has access to these angels, but what does that really mean? What does that really mean?
What does it really mean? Do you mean like as
Like,
far as how?
yeah, well, like we have like you said a guardian angel, so like that would probably
Correct.
be a main angel. I'm gonna say that works with us. Is that correct? Because
Well,
I'm not
the
versed in your angel
yeah,
world, so I'm asking from an inquisitive perspective. I tap
right,
into them all the time because I just do, but I can't logically explain to someone
right.
what this is. So
Perfect.
that's why I'm like, give me the info from your perspective because this is your work, which is amazing.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So a good place to start is just with a basic understanding that the angelic realm, there's actually 9 levels or a
Okay, here we
hierarchy
go. Yeah.
within the angelic realm, and within each level, the vibrational frequency of that angel or that angel group um, becomes higher. And
Hmm.
so your guardian angel, like we were talking about, is at the first level of the hierarchy, and their sole purpose is to look after you. and they are
Got it.
with you from the time you were born until the time you pass in this lifetime. Um, and so they are there to protect you and keep you safe. That is their main role. So it's like having your BFF with you all the time.
Yeah.
You can connect with them at any time, and you can expand that relationship by focusing, like any other relationship, by focusing and nurturing it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
for those of us who have these times where we're feeling really alone in our human experience, it's so beneficial if you have started to establish that relationship with your guardian angel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Cool.
then you can lean on them for support and have them literally right there with you, because they are literally with you 24/7, right?
Yeah.
Now, a
Yeah.
lot of times people come to me and they're like, well, who are the angels around me? And so,
Mm.
yes, there are times when you have more than one angel with you.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is always your guardian angel. But then,
Yeah.
depending on what you're navigating in life, what
Mm-hmm.
challenges you're experiencing, what's going on, you may have more angels come in to support you. And
Right.
so they'll support you through that challenge or navigate that decision or whatever, for whatever space and time that is required in our timeline. And,
Yeah.
and then they'll, go and do other things. One thing that is important to note with angels is that they are not restricted by time and space.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can be with us as long as we want, and they're not, you're never taking away from someone else. Because some people are like, oh, I don't want to call on Archangel Michael because Jane needs his support more. But the thing is Archangel Michael is not restricted by time and space like we are in our human experience. So he can go to Jane, he can come to you, he can go hang out with Sue, like
You can be with
it
everyone. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't matter. And so
Yeah.
never feel like you're taking away. And like I said, they're here to help all of us. But and
Hold
so
that thought
that's
for
what
1 second. Hold that thought.
yeah.
Because I used to actually believe that. Like I never called in Archangel Michael to help me because I knew he had to be in somewhere else that it
Oh,
wasn't as urgent.
interesting.
And that was like way back, like probably 20 years ago or something. But like
Right.
that was a thing. And when you mention it now, I'm laughing to myself because I mentioned this just recently. I can't even remember where. And someone was like, "You really believe that?" I was like, "That was my naivety. I didn't know any different." Right. So
Yeah.
love that you brought that up. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think part of it too is, and this is a whole other caveat, but like
Yeah.
our human experience and our level of self-worth and deservingness.
Oh,
Like we may not
huge. Yeah.
feel that Archangel
Yes.
Michael should help us or that we deserve to.
Yeah.
Mary deserves it more, kind of thing. So
Yes.
that can come into play as well.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
yeah. So that's why angels, when people come, you can have more than one angel with you, and it can change. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you have your guardian angels. Then the second level is the archangels.
Mm.
And the archangels are the chief messengers. They oversee the guardian angels. They are often seen as experts in various things.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Archangel Metatron, he's the keeper of the Akashic records. Um,
Yeah.
Archangel Michael is known as the protector, the one who keeps you
Mm-hmm.
safe. Archangel Gabriel is often the archangel we call upon to help us with communication, but also works with artists and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you need an expert, you would, on a specific thing, you would call on, one of those archangels. Now, that's not to be said that if you need help with communication and you called Michael instead of Gabrielle, that Michael's not going to come help you, or
Yeah.
Gabrielle's not going to come help you,
Yeah.
or oh my gosh, I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what Michael will say, hey, Gabrielle, Colleen
Need
needs
you.
help with communication. She called me. I'm going to go anyways and help with XYZ, but you come too, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people to kind of like not be afraid of calling the wrong
Mm.
archangel. There are thousands of them out there, and even though we commonly talk about like the divine 15, there's
Yeah.
more than just 15 archangels out there with,
Oh, for sure.
areas of expertise and ways to support us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Amazing.
and then there's 7 other levels in the hierarchy, which I won't go into at the moment because we that would be long conversation. But like I said, as you go up, each of those
Yeah.
levels of the archangels, they offer different ways of support, different ways to guide you, and like I said, their vibrational frequency gets higher and higher and higher. And the
Yeah.
advantage for you whenever you're working with the angels, regardless of which grouping of angels it is you are inadvertently raising your own personal vibration
Right. Of course. Yeah.
because you're reaching up to
Yeah.
their frequency. And so I often like to describe it as when you're tuning into the radio, right?
Mm,
We are here at 93.9 and the archangels are at 100.2, and as we raise our personal vibration, we're when we first start out, you know when you're not tuned into the right radio station, can you hear or receive what's going on? No. But as you
yeah.
get closer
Yeah.
and closer, the static reduces and then the song becomes more clear. And so that's in essence what's happening as you connect with the angels
Right.
more and more, um, because
Love
you
it.
are getting closer to their vibrational frequency. And then, of course, in any other things that you're doing or tools or whatever, on working on your personal vibration. But, anyways, you're inadvertently on that journey. So that's a kind
Right.
of another added benefit of working with them.
Love it. I have a personal question to ask you is the Seraphim angels,
Yes,
what level are they in?
they are the top. They're level 9.
Okay, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. I work with their dragons a lot. They're Seraphim dragons.
Yes.
So, yeah. So just
Yeah.
interesting.
I love the seraphim. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So I just was like, okay, I'm gonna ask this question. Like I just
yeah.
curiosity in
Yeah.
my mind, like
Yeah.
because nothing for me is tactile, meaning like I never think about this, what we're conversing about. I just tap in the purity of light and go to where I need to go to in order to channel or move energy or do whatever I'm working within at the time.
Right.
And so this is the logical side that we're talking about today that's bringing in information, which I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to ask this because like I've never asked it. And could I tap in? Yeah, I could tap in and ask, but I'm like, I've got you here right now that this is your wheelhouse. This is the work
Right.
you work within. So I'm like, let me ask you because maybe someone else wants to know. But yeah, just really curious about this whole entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
So part of your mission, obviously, as you stated already, you do readings and stuff, which is amazing, and people can get info. But
Mm-hmm.
your real like fire starter, we'll call it, is about helping other people enable this inside of themselves. Correct?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And I know
Yeah.
that you had asked if we could drop into something. Does it still feel relevant to the conversation we've had to support?
Yes, I think it does. It's a guided experience where we tap people in, we bring in the angels and tap them into the angelic realm just in a quick short exercise. And I like to do it so that people, regardless of if they've worked with angels or not,
Yeah,
but I like to, one of the things I do when I empower people to connect with their angels is to help them understand and recognize how they're personally connecting. Because
mm-hmm.
the way you notice your connection, the way I notice my connection, and the way the person over there notices their connection, it's all different, right? There's no right or wrong way. Like, yes, there's certain things that you can look for, but if you haven't checked that off the list, it doesn't mean that you haven't connected with the angels. So
Right.
I like to do this exercise to help people begin to notice how they're connecting, um,
Yeah.
to the angels.
Yeah, if you feel called to, I love it, and we can then close off after that. I think
Yeah.
it would be a good way to kind of maneuver. The first thing I'm going to say, I know a lot of my listeners are either on a run, they're at work, they're driving in their cars, they're doing life multiple ways, because the multidimensional, multifaceted person can listen to podcasts and do, right? So they put them on their ear, because it's not like they have to study. They're just taking in info. So if any of you are doing any of that, do not close your eyes and drop into this space. Come back to this moment of
come
time
back.
in the
Definitely
podcast.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely come back. Yeah, find a few
Come
moments.
back to this. Yeah. But if you are, you can still listen in. Just don't drop into like closing your eyes while you're driving. Just making sure that nobody does that.
Yes. Stay focused on the road, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love for you to just take us where you feel called to take us.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to ask everybody who can to just settle into the space that they're in, just get themselves nice and comfortable. And you can take a nice deep breath with me. And then on the exhale, just allow that breath to come out through the mouth. And then as you continue to breathe, you can gently close your eyes and just allow your body begin to relax as you continue to breathe in and out. And just noticing as you're continuing to breathe that your body is beginning to feel lighter and freer and happier as you sink deeper and deeper into the relaxation with your breath. Now I want you to imagine a brilliant white light surrounding you, engulfing your entire body like a huge white bubble of light. Notice its brilliance, notice its sparkling, and notice how it fills up and expands through your heart space, so that the light is shining from within, out from the heart chakra, which is now seemingly the center point of this light. Allow this light to move through you, radiating outward and surrounding your entire body. Feel the love radiating throughout this white light that completely surrounds you now. How warm it feels and how peaceful. And notice now in this space all the sensations that may be present in your body. Any feelings of comfort and the peace that you're experiencing within this light and this space. Now, surrounded in this white light with your next breath, I want you to feel this light expand further out from your body, pushing it out further, expanding and growing, encompassing and filling the room that you are in, pushing it out further and allowing it to radiate and pulse throughout the room and out past your auric field. And in this space, I just ask you to pause here for a moment and just enjoy the experience and the feelings that you are noticing being immersed in this beautiful Christ-like light. Now on your next breath, I invite you to inhale deeply and imagine as you exhale your vibration lifting, moving it up to the higher realms and connecting into a higher frequency and vibration that you were not experiencing a moment ago. Notice how this feels. Notice yourself moving higher and shifting into this new energetic frequency, this new vibration. Noticing how it feels to be here, what differences you are now experiencing, and holding this frequency within your heart. Now, from this space, I invite you to call the angels to you now with this prayer. You can repeat after me. Angels and archangels and all divine beings of light, I ask that you come to me now and assist me in connecting with you. Allow me to see, hear, feel, know, and understand your presence and any messages that you may have for me. I ask for your help and the guidance that will serve me now for my best and highest good and for those connected to me. Thank you, and so it is. Now I invite you to stay here for just a few moments more, sitting within this vibration, noticing the subtle energies flowing and the frequencies and the feeling and the expansion within your heart. Observing the presence of the angels for you and how that feels to you now. Then, when you are ready, I invite you to gently open your eyes and come back to the space, coming back to the room, and drinking some water to ground.
I don't have any more.
I know, right?
I didn't want to repeat after you too because I wasn't on mute, and I was like,
Oh, yeah,
I'll
no
say it in my
problem.
mind.
Yes, I do encourage people to do it, to say it out loud. Um,
Yes,
you can
yes,
definitely say it in your mind, but I always find saying it out loud and spoken word can just be that much more deeper and effective.
you're
And
claiming the energy too, right? You're claiming it as
exactly,
well when you say it out loud. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. And definitely 100%, if you don't have water at the end of this, make sure you drink some after you finish listening to us.
yeah.
Be- yeah, you
Go
may
get
have
it.
some.
I'm sure people have it.
Yeah, well, and some people, well, whether they've drunk it all or not already, anytime we, as you know, anytime we move energy or have an experience, our bodies need water for support. Um, any healing that's happening, the water will help flush things through, move things
Mhm.
out if there's any release um, going on. And some of you may actually feel quite thirsty at the moment, so that would be why. Make sure you
Yeah.
hydrate.
Yeah, it's cool. And I love that it's like, sometimes we complicate the process so much as humans. Like when it actually is easy and simple, we just have to remember that it's easy and simple. And when we do that, then this connection within ourselves can be more open for us to move through. So, like, that was an easy exercise. It was simple in its nature,
Absolutely.
and
And I also, and again, I love it because you don't need any extra tools except yourself,
yeah, it's
right?
awesome. It's awesome.
So, and I know some people who I've worked with, like, because not everybody's visual,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so I'm more of a visual person. So oftentimes when I guide people through things, it's more of a kind of a visual experience. But I invite people, if they're more of a feeling or knowing
Hmm.
type of experience person, to
Hmm.
just substitute every time I say look or see for feel or know, um,
Yeah.
and drop in that way. But that will, as they do the exercise, if they're not already aware of what their dominant way of receiving is, that will become more clear for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's awesome. And I appreciate the gift that you've given all of us who are listening to this podcast, that availability to kind of tap in and maneuver. So just closing off, I think, like, I want to ask, do the angels have something to say to humanity today? Like, is there something coming through you to speak into the world? And then anything else you'd like to kind of add into that as well before we close out.
Okay. Yes. The message that's coming through loud and clear is to be your best self.
Mm.
Don't shy away from what you want. Don't hide in your house.
Don't do it.
um but that being said, if you're naturally kind of getting verklempt to going, just do one thing. Just do one thing
Hmm.
that will move you forward. And the other thing I want to share is that I know and have experienced myself that there are spaces and places that are dark, and you don't feel
Hmm.
motivated, and you don't feel like showing up, and you don't feel like doing this stuff. And it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
anybody says about moving the needle or tapping into your angels or whatever. There are
Yeah.
times where you just want to say BS,
Hmm.
and sometimes you want to punch them in the face.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to be there, right? Because in our human experience, we have these ebbs and flows, and the trick is just don't get stuck there. Um,
Hmm.
like I said, and that's when spend your time processing that, but then go and do that one thing. So if it's breath work that takes you out of it, go do your 5 or 7 minutes of breath work,
Yep.
um, before you punch the person in the face. For
It may not be as strong after breath work, but you may still want to do that.
Yeah, and I just think it's really important to recognize that yes, we're on this spiritual journey, and we all have our
Mhm.
expertise, but you know what, we're all so human, and
Yeah, we are.
there are times and places and spaces where it's not fun and it's not going well, and you're like, I just don't know how to get out of this. So, like I said, just be okay with not being okay, but don't forget your tools that can help bring in and move that needle for you so that you're not stuck in that space.
Yeah.
Because that space isn't fun.
Oh no, I've been through that space numerous times in my life, and sometimes when it shows up again, I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm
Yeah.
okay with this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
good. I got the lesson. We're okay. We do not need to repeat this pattern. I'm done. I'm like,
Yes, 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 yes. Well, that being said, sometimes it's not a repetition of the pattern, but it's
of
an
course.
opportunity for you to go deeper. And,
Yeah.
and I like to use the onion analogy, where
Oh yeah.
you're ready for that next level of healing in whatever that is. And so
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel like, oh my gosh, this is coming up again. I didn't heal that, and then feel like they failed. No, no, it's not that. It's
No, no, no.
you're ready for the next level. So
Yeah.
take it as a win, actually.
Yeah. I say that
Yeah.
we came down to earth with the never ending onion, and that we didn't know it was in our backpack when we got here. And then we like discover
And
it. And
otherwise,
I'm
we would
like,
have left it on the ship.
yeah, I know. Like, yeah, no, I'll put that at the top of the slide. It doesn't have to come down with me when I slide
That's
on
right.
in. So just to complete, obviously in the show notes, we're going to have all the links and stuff that you provided, but what do you have going on right now? Where do you play? Like I call like Instagram my playground. Where do you play, and like where can people reach you if they're curious about stuff? What does that look like, feel like for you?
I can be found on Instagram for sure.
Mhm.
And that's just at Caylen Dheviain. But my most active space right now is Facebook.
Yep.
I have a free Angelic Connections group that people can join, and we talk all things angels, um,
Nice.
and uh, and some things not angels, but specifically, but it's all spiritually based. And the two things that I have that I feel are the most powerful for people to jump into is I have a monthly membership, Angelic Connections membership, which guides people through helping them to set their foundation for that daily connection and establishing that in their daily lives. But I also have, and this, I find this really, really powerful, but it depends on if it resonates with you or not, is I have a one-on-one angelic coaching program, which is like a 6-month intensive program, which helps set you up with a strong foundation connection to the angelic realm. And then we move through raising your personal vibration. And of course, whenever we're doing raising our frequency, there's some healing that comes in there, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And then we flow into identifying, enhancing, deepening your spiritual gifts. And then the final phase is harnessing those gifts and identifying how you want to take them out to the world. Whether that be, oh my gosh, I'm going to jump into a spiritual entrepreneurship, or whether it be, I'm just going to do more with my neighbor kind of thing, or just embody it in my life. And so that program is really cool because you get me to yourself one-on-one every week, right?
It's awesome.
For 6 months.
6 months.
And the transformation within that 6-month period is phenomenal. Like if that's what you're ready to dive into, and you're ready to also do the homework in between, because there is homework in between.
Of course there is.
Then that's the one I'd recommend people to jump into. But if you're more of a self-pace and go as I can, go along on my own kind of thing, then the membership is the best space for those people.
Cool. Well, we'll have the links in the show notes, and if you guys feel inclined, I'm sure Caylen will answer questions and all that stuff. You can just reach out to her inside of that space. But it's been a pleasure. Like, I really enjoyed this conversation and enjoyed the connection here and like the creation of it all, like, and allowing me to ask questions that I'm like, let's talk about this and that kind of stuff and that space of stuff. So it's been really great.
Yes. Yeah, it has. I could have never predicted where our conversation went today, but it was great. It's all relevant and I love it. And I feel like the messages that were most important have been shared.
Absolutely. And that's how I roll all the time. It's just like, let's see what flows through, because you never know what might come up in these podcast episodes. But just grateful for the time. I'm super happy that we did this. And just thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, you know what to do. So I always ask at the end of every episode, tag us, share it out, quote one of us, send it to a friend, whatever you have to do to help get this podcast into the hands of other people. Because the more people that have the podcast in their hands, the more light warriors are being lit up and the more the light we get to spread into the world. So, and I can guarantee you that if you tag us, we will keep sharing. Like, we will keep sharing. Right. Yeah, so amazing. So guys, I'm just so grateful that you were here listening and that you're here in our world, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye for now. Right? Wasn't that just such a great episode? I love the way that Caylen stepped in to answer all the questions that I had. And I thought they were relevant. I thought that it actually was an actual thing for us to talk about this, because there is so much info out there. There is so much uniqueness and energy. There is so much dynamics. And I'm still sitting with the spirit guide side. And I'm like, I think that we also have angels as spirit guides. And maybe that's just me. And I'm going to put that out there into the world. But maybe one day I'll know the actual truth to that. But it was so great, and just like I said in the podcast, like, help us spread the word, tag us, share it out, send it to a friend, get it into the hands of people. If you are inclined to want to connect with Caylen, like, just go into the show notes and you will find all of her links. Everything is going to be there. And it's just been exciting. And we've got some really cool dynamics moving through in this next part of the year as we maneuver through the podcast. And I'm just so grateful that you guys are all here listening, and that every single one of you that tunes in to all these episodes are here right now. So just sending you guys out lots of love and dynamics and angel light today as you move through the world. And we'll see you guys all again soon.